What's been really great as that relationship has matured and developed a little bit, we've been able to work together to bring about outside sources of funding to pay for a lot of road infrastructure that's needed. In this case, the extension of Herriman Blvd to where it's going to intersect with U111.
Welcome to Herrimanology,
the official podcast to keep up with Herriman City.
We'll take you inside the city, explore the latest news and updates, show you how your government operates, and discuss the issues that affect us all. Now, here are your hosts talking all things Herriman on Herrimanology.
All right, welcome to Herrimanology. It is Thursday, March 27th, and a happy opening day for Major League Baseball to those who celebrate.
Go Dodgers.
Dodgers? Okay, I was going to ask you if you had a team.
Yeah.
I'm an Angels guy myself.
Got it.
This might be the year they improve to become an average team. We'll see.
It could be.
The Dodgers are as good a spot as anybody.
Yeah, they're looking really good this year.
And good luck to the Cougars tonight, too.
Amen.
16.
Let's go.
So
it's hard for a Ute fan to say that,
yeah.
but they're not playing the Utes, so we can cheer them on.
Yeah, we won't make this a sports show, but a reluctant thumbs up. Good luck to the Cougars today.
That's right.
So, I'm John LaFollette, Communications Manager for the city, joined today by Councilmember Steve Shields from District 4. How are you doing?
Doing great.
We had a city council meeting last night.
Yes, sir.
Kind of an unusual one. There was no work meeting, and the general meeting agenda was pretty short. But there were a few discussion items that happened and a couple of approvals as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk first about there's an agreement with UDOT, Utah Department of Transportation, for funding and construction of an extension of Herriman Blvd, which is 126 South, kind of known by different names. What was that about, and what's coming up this year?
Yeah, this is some of the most exciting stuff we've kind of been putting together for a while, right? I think just to take one quick step back, that I think a lot of the announcements people are going to be hearing about transportation infrastructure in and around the city over the next couple of years is largely an outgrowth of the relationship that we have with the Olympia development. What's been really great as though that relationship has matured and developed a little bit, we've been able to work together to bring about outside sources of funding to pay for a lot of road infrastructure that's needed, from tiny little a bridge over a street to, in this case, the extension of 123rd South Herriman Blvd to where it's going to intersect with U111. This is a major corridor that's going to be servicing traffic in and out of the western part of the city over there. That's going to be the intersection that's going to support a huge commercial development. It's just the key backbone for transportation in there. In addition to that, we're also going to be building 7300 West from Main Street up to
where the end of that one.
Where the end of that connects in, right?
Yeah, and where in a couple of years U111 back as highway.
That'll come down from the north.
Will come straight down. So if you kind of think it bends out to the west as it comes south, that's going to go straight down into Herriman.
Yep.
Which
is a reroute from where it was.
And those will all kind of meet there.
Yeah, and that, again, even that layout is a result of a lot of lobbying and cooperation and negotiation to bring it so that three corners of that intersection are going to be in the city of Herriman. And it's going to really be the vision for that is a commercial center that will help bring in additional tax revenue, but also support the residents on that side of the city.
Yeah, so that 126 or Herriman Blvd extension is going to happen this year, or at least will start this year. I can't guarantee it's going to be finished this year.
Right.
A lot of things can happen, but
it's a UDOT project as opposed to a city project.
Right.
So there's much more complex levels of approval and analysis and preparation that have to go into it. So sometimes they're a little slower.
Yeah, but one of those major roads that is badly needed, and excited to have that.
Yeah, very much so.
Coming this year. A couple of other items too that were on the consent agenda, which means that those are items that generally are, I don't want to say formality, that's too light of a word, but things that are anticipated to not need a whole lot of discussion or presentations. There were a couple of items removed from that just because the council wanted some extra discussion on them. The first one was for a contract for mowing services around the city, like mowing grass services for this year. What was that discussion?
Yeah, I think much to the chagrin of some of my fellow council members and staff, I have a reputation of pulling items out of the consent agenda for discussion in the regular meeting. Last night, the mowing contract is the city outsources the mowing of all the public land that we have that's got grass on it that needs to be taken care of. We've been contracting with the same company for about a decade now, and internal staff reports great levels of service towards the city. Also, at least anecdotally, city staff has reported that our costs associated with this contract are, 20 to maybe 50% lower than what competitive contracts in the marketplace are going for. Part of our discussion last night was to just open up the box and say, how are we evaluating these contracts? When was the last time we sent out for a bid and got some competitive offers and see what the marketplace is doing? How does this compare to what it would cost us to do it internally? And it's a little late in the process for maybe implementing all of those things this year. So the council did ultimately decide to go forward with the contract for the next 12 months, but that during the next 12 months we will be completing a more formal analysis of that, introducing some competition and some potentially competitive bids, and see if we might be able to save some money or enhance the service the city gets.
Yeah, and this council too, I think we talked about in the podcast, approved fairly recently a new updated contract procurement policy, which basically makes that sort of thing you're talking about policy.
Right.
Where it was to an extent before, but this really clarifies and updates that. So this will be one of those things going forward. So
yeah, I think the good news is for the most part, as we have dug into previous contracts, we've seen that especially with service providers, the city's done pretty well. We've had fair or better than fair rates, but even still, we feel it's a responsible practice to review and update those periodically to make sure that our taxpayers are getting the biggest bang for their buck.
Yeah, sure.
It's a stewardship issue for this council, and that's why we implemented that policy.
Yeah. And the other item of discussion was a request for a letter of support from a private broadband internet provider asking the city for it's kind of a complex topic, but they're asking for support for a program that would involve some taxpayer money to. Maybe I'll let you explain it. You can explain it better off microphone before this, but maybe a Cliff Notes version of that.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of a complex issue, at least the history and some other dynamics around this. But just cutting to the chase, the request was for the city to support their application for some federal dollars administered by the state to construct broadband infrastructure and services for underserved areas. When those funds were originally awarded to the state, the criteria that they had excluded just about everywhere in Herriman from consideration. Supposedly, they were not finding enough opportunities to disperse these funds, and the state kind of lowered that threshold just a little bit. And when they lowered that, according to the applicant, there were 36 locations or areas, the definition of which is a little unclear, in the city of Herriman or in around the city of Herriman that they would have been able to get funding to build service for. The question that the council had, and the reason we brought it up for discussion as opposed to just the consent agenda, was that we were unclear as to exactly what the impact for Herriman residents would be. How many locations would see hookup? What are the areas it would see improved service? Really the data-driven things that would help us make a good decision. So last night, what we voted to do was to continue the item until the applicant could come back and provide us with some more details about that. We just feel like it's, for lack of a better term, if you're spending taxpayer dollars, you should at least have some expectation of what you're getting for that expense. The idea of just awarding taxpayer dollars to a private company without a really clear understanding of that, it was a little too premature for us.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the entirety of the city council
Yeah,
meeting last
it was
night.
short.
Relatively short. There were a couple of more items that we wanted to bring up. First, the athletic complex project has had a bit of an update. We updated the webpage yesterday, sent out an email to a handful of people who subscribed at community meetings, but maybe what are the major updates, or maybe, I don't know if there are multiple updates, but as well as what we expect in the Planning Commission meeting next week.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of noise and rumors around this process. There's an ultimate goal to get to something, which is the impetus behind all of these conversations. But at this point, what has happened is there is a large contiguous parcel of land that would be a good fit for a potential athletic complex. But it is already entitled, ready for homes to be built, kind of had already been planned in a different direction. So with some partners around the city, some development partners, some landowners, we started several months ago a discussion about is there or are there assets that the city has in terms of land that we could swap for this piece of land in order to facilitate the development of or the advancement of an athletic complex plan. Some parcels were identified, but early on, one of the suggestions about the utility of the project, specifically the formerly known as the Walker property over here, was at one time forecasted to be a public works facility for the city. And unfortunately, just the noise and the kind of mess of a public works yard didn't really fit well in a surrounding residential area. So we moved on from that anyway, but now we've got this large parcel of land. So what is going before the Planning Commission is we have at least tentatively outlined a potential land swap of a few separate parcels for this one large contiguous parcel. One of the points of negotiation was the number of units that would be entitled on each one of these parcels to create kind of a fair value of the exchange.
And units meaning residential homes.
Residential home units on the property. So for this Walker property, we saw original proposals in the multiples of hundreds. That prompted a lot of discussion from us and from them. We really got into some meetings and analyzed some things, broke all those comparisons down. And I think the good news for both our residents and something that's satisfactory to the developer is that what most of the public has seen is 212 units going on that property. What is going before the Planning Commission is 113. And before they were going to be attached multifamily units, these are all going to be detached single-family properties. And we've actually created some kind of buffers, if you will, around some existing residential areas to kind of match the lot sizes where they're adjacent, so that it kind of just has a very easy blend feel into the new area. And I think it shows great understanding on the part of the developer that the city is consistently trying to find ways to limit density in areas where it's not appropriate, and not to destroy the feels of neighborhoods or create additional traffic problems. And so their ability to lower these units down to that number was all in all very positive for the city. Ultimately, I think the idea is we're going to take 4 separate properties and give it to the developers for development, and then the city is going to have one large parcel. That will be the impetus for further discussion about a potential athletic complex. But we're so far away from that actually happening at this point. You know, this is step 1 of maybe 10 or 12 steps, and we haven't even gotten to fully to step one yet.
Yeah. So there'll be a bunch, I think it's 9 technical separate different items on the Planning Commission meeting next week between master development agreements or zoning changes, general plan amendments that are all parts of the formal process to get to this point. After the Planning Commission hears that, it'll get to an upcoming city council meeting agenda for discussion. And if it gets approved, then the land exchange would happen, but then funding for a future athletic complex, that's still up in the air.
Right.
So just want to be clear, the items on the agenda for the Planning Commission now and upcoming for the City Council, it's not a final or even tentative approval of an athletic complex.
No.
It's for the land exchange, like you said, to make room and have a real property that the city owns and say, all right, now let's pursue funding for this. Athletic complex is still the goal. That's always been the goal for this thing, but
yeah, and even that term is a little amorphous, right? There's been visions of multiple athletic fields, something that would be large enough to support regional or even national athletic tournaments, soccer, lacrosse, rugby, those kinds of outdoor turf sports. There's been talk about pickleball courts. There's been talk about a parks segment. I mean, all of that is so far away from a decision, but we have to get that contiguous piece so that we can further those conversations.
Yeah. All right. One more item I wanted to hit too. We've put this on social media. Nobody likes hearing about construction projects or traffic, but just wanted to make you aware. So everybody's very painfully aware of the Bangor 134 UDOT interchange project. Not the South Valley Sewer District. The Jordan Basin Improvement District has 2 projects going on simultaneously. One is at Bangor 134 that is kind of compounding on the traffic there. And then there's another one all along 118th South. These are through multiple cities. And the actual impacts happening this weekend and next week are not in Herriman. We cannot control it. But they do invite us to the meetings, which is nice. So this coming,
they invite us to tell us the bad news.
They do, and so the bad news is this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday, out on the South Jordan and Riverton border at the Bangor Highway overpass, they will close 118th South completely for a couple of days, Saturday through Sunday. They might finish earlier, but that's to plan on a full closure there. So there's going to be traffic backed up more than usual probably on 118th, which I know everybody's rolling their eyes, but that's once that's done, Monday morning starting at 12:01 a.m. Way down on 134th by Bangor, the intersection there with Old Liberty Way, which is the detour route for that project, that is going to have further restrictions for this week. And the reason they chose this week is because of Jordan School District's spring break. There's a school right next to there. But there will be additional restrictions and headache there. So if you travel those areas, which is a lot of people, be patient, plan extra time, take some deep breaths. It will get better. The sewer project, I have seen a lot of people asking, when are we going to be able to turn right onto southbound Bangor? The answer is early May.
Yeah.
They're shooting for the first day of May, but it could, construction projects, it could be mid-May. Yeah. But that's coming up. And then the interchange freeway project that UDOT is working on is going to be in the fall. And that's going to be a full, nice interchange when it's done. But
the good news is once the sewer projects are done, the 134th interchange project is going to accelerate. We'll see some great progress there. We're also seeing, if you've gone down the south end of Mountain View at Porter Rockwell, if you look south, you can see the roads under construction there, the continuation of Mountain View corridor. That will let people bypass the Redwood Porter Rockwell intersection and just continue on to 21st South and Lehigh. All of those are just going to have fantastic impacts on us over the long term. But the next, 6-12 months are going to be, it's rough.
Yep. So people are fed up with traffic. Totally get it. We're with you. We drive the same roads, but there is an end at some point. So, and it'll be much better at the end of that tunnel. So,
yes, sir. Yes, it will.
Anyway, Councilmember Shields, thank you for carving out a few minutes today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening and watching. As always, you can leave a comment or a question on any platform that you're listening or watching on, we'll see it and we'll address it in a future episode. So with that, say thanks for listening and watching, and we'll catch you next time.